Hi everybody, welcome to my stamp studio. So this is getting towards the end of my catalog kickoff for the holiday catalog for this year. So from July 1st to July 6th, I have extra added specials, one of which I'm going to use today. But if you're not on my email list, then head to my website and you can see the bonus goodies that I have added to purchases that you make during the kickoff. And I have posted July 4th, I didn't post anything because, it was a holiday and not the holiday that was covered in this. I had a card to post and it didn't auto post. So I will send it in an email and then get it up. I may end up doing a video with it. There hadn't been a video. It was just kind of a summer themed card I was going to post for you, but it didn't work. But there are lots of tutorials, lots of specials, lots of things to do. So let's get started on today's card. So I'm going to do a Christmas card. I waited till after the 4th of July because it's really killing me now. But I know a lot of you like to do Christmas in July, stamping things with your friends. I know you like to get a head start on your Christmas cards. So I understand that we need to look at Christmas. I just am not feeling it. So it's a little bit hard this time of year. But I know when I looked at the catalog that the stamp that I'm going to use to make my personal cards this year will be Peace to You. So those of you who are my customers will end up getting something that is this. Last year, the set I chose was a carryover, so it's in here again. It's the one with the frame. I can't remember what it's called, but this will be the one that I make my cards with. And then I do like the words in here. I like the words. I'm not huge on the font. I know it kind of goes with that style, but I love the words over here. And I do want to point out, so I'm using Hope and Peace to You. I'm going to leave that there to show you the paper. So here's Peace to You. They are bigger, of course, than what they look on here. So I took my dies over and I was trying to find something to cut this out. And then when I took the stamp out anyways, it wouldn't have worked because they're bigger than they appear here. So I'm using Peace to You. And then I'm going to use Hope and Peace. But one of the things I wanted to point out, while it's a Christmas set kind of, it does have God's blessings to you. Use that year round on birthday cards, sympathy cards, get well cards. I mean, you can use God's blessings to you all the time. And then there's this one here that says with love and hope. So it could also, again, be used year round. So some of them are obviously very Christmassy. Most of the rest of them. I'm going to use Emmanuel, God with us, and then just the straight Merry Christmas because these fonts kind of match. So we're going to do one on the outside, one on the inside. But the fonts all match pretty well to do an inside outside. So Hope and Peace. And then come back because once I started playing Christmas, then you get inspired. The paper that I was going to use was the Celebration foil paper, and I was going to use this stamp set. And so then I did a couple of things, and I wasn't sold. I was kind of doing the first play with a set, and the colors I stamped it on. So then I switched it up and I thought, well, I'll try this. And then I wanted it to be darker. And then the next thing I didn't want the white paper anymore. But come back because I do have ideas now for this. Once I finished this, I was like, oh, I should have done that. So this one will be featured with the Celebration paper. This paper is fabulous and I will do something with it, not the paper I'm using today. It would have worked. Now that I look at my card, it would have been fine with it, except for there's one little point where I needed the paper that I did. But we are going to use, I looked it up, page 30, the paper from the Light to Go suite. Now, this is one of what they call a super suite. It's $147. So if you buy it right now, during Celebration, add an adhesive or something, and you'll get either one $100 things free and a $50 or three $50s. Which is great. And then if you do it during my kickoff, you'll get a bunch of stuff free as well from me. So it does have 2 stamps and 2 dies, which I'm not using. I don't even have them yet. One comes in my order for my try it, so it's coming soon. I am using the embellishments that come with. I'm using the ribbon that goes with it. And then this paper here. But it has evergreen, vanilla, and gold paper, which once I got going, like I said, I was like, oh, I could do this and this and this. I just needed to crack the door open on Christmas. And then this over here is some fun new foils, and it's 12 by 12. The picture doesn't do it justice, and I will use it. coming up, and come back on the week of July 25th. That week I'm going to do full Christmas, all Christmas, and I'll try to get a bunch of stuff in a Christmas in July. But we're going to use this little pack here. It is called Lights Aglow. It's a 6x6 pack. And I'm also going to use the distressed gold that's in the annual catalog. So this is the piece we're going to use. And then we're going to end up using the back, which that wouldn't have worked if I'd used the other paper. But sometimes when you choose, like if you're doing mass-produced Christmas cards, I know some of you make 5 and some of you make 500. So when you choose a design, sometimes 6x6 isn't the best to go with if you're going to do a lot, because you need to check the packet to see how many packets you're going to have to get if you're set on one piece of paper. And because I do classes, I often, before the first thing I do is make sure. So this is beautiful. This one here would work because we're going starry skies, right? This one you could make work because it has the stained glass. You could pull that in. It would also be pretty with the church. It has the stars on the other side, which you'll see those will work. Then this also has these fun little things that can be tags. I wouldn't use that for this because I'm going to use those check back because those are coming in my catalog kickoff week. And then this obviously would work because giant stars. This one will work. So almost all of the papers in here, except for the ones that have the tags, which are those, and then the trees. Where are the trees? I mean, you could use those work because once you put the stuff on here, you're not going to see that they're trees, but these work with the dies that go with it. That would be beautiful with it. So this pack of paper, if you like this card design, and it would be super simple, and it's really elegant and pretty, this pack will work. Now, you would probably need to either have... go with all red. I have a black background. All black probably, I guess it would work. You'd have to kind of play with your background piece. But I know a lot of you already have those. And then, like I said, check back because we're going to do something fun with those. Probably tomorrow in your time. So we are going to do, let's see, we need to do this first. So like I said, it's 6x6. So we need it to be, so I can use it for the front of my card. So I'm going to make it 4, and I want my stars to go down, not across, because I want them to look like they're falling. So 4, and then 5 1/4. And this is the perfect size that you need. Now, if you're like me, you can always stick a die in here. Not me when I'm busy, but if you're just generally creating, and cut those centers out and still be able to use all this paper for something else, because that's just going to get covered up. But now we have this piece here and this piece here, and we're going to use those. We're going to use this to stamp on. I love this background piece. And that was not part of my original design for this card. That's what I mean, how it kind of just goes when you start playing. So we're going to do some embossing, just old-fashioned. When I first started stamping, all I literally did, it's been almost 30 years ago, was emboss. And then I got 2 greens and 1 red watercolor pencil. And I used that for a good first year when I stamped. Sometimes I would use a Crayola marker to color in some of my embossing. But I think I had gold, silver, and black. That was all I had. You know, 30 years ago, we're talking they didn't have much. They didn't even have a heat gun. So I used a paint stripper. So it's, if you're embossing, once you buy the supplies, they'll last you forever. So I'm going to use Versamark. And then on this one here, this is going to be the inside of our card, our sentiment for the front, and then our panel, which gets hand cut, so you can just use a scrap. So I'm going to use Versamark. Make sure this is nice and inked up. And then just stamp this on here. I don't have my stickers on. A lot of times I never end up putting the stickers on, but this one I literally just took out. Like I said, this wasn't where I was going at all with this. So it's a nice large stamp, so I just made sure that I got everywhere. So got that one. And then for the outside of my card, I want the Emmanuel. For this one, I want the Merry Christmas. And since I don't have stickers on, I have to pay attention. You could do the inside if you're in a hurry. You could do those in black ink. I just like, once I get going with the embossing, it's there. And you need to do this while it's wet. But if you're mass producing, like I said, I used to do it all the time. It never occurred to me that it could dry. So I used to make my Christmas cards, and I probably would stamp maybe like 10 and then emboss them. And it was more back then. You know, there was no internet. There was nobody helping me. I was figuring it all out on my own. But it was more table space because you can only get so many things on your table, and you don't want to lay them on top of each other because you don't want anything to smear. So that's all for our stamping. Now, the new embossing kit, I haven't cleaned mine up from when I just made this, is in the catalog. It is one of my free gifts with purchase at certain levels this week. So it comes with, this is an embossing buddy. So you may already have one. And if you have one from when before we discontinued it, you may need a new one if you lose it a lot. I did wipe it in here so my embossing powder wouldn't stick before I started. Now, it's not exceedingly humid in Indiana, so I didn't bother to use it on my stuff today. Then it comes with a brush and tweezers. But if it was raining or it was, you know, a damp spring when it was always raining here, then I would have rubbed my embossing buddy over the top, but I didn't have any problems with it sticking. And it kind of leaves a little bit of a film that you then have to wipe off, especially in the darker colored stuff. And when I started this card, I was not going dark, so I realized then it wasn't an issue. So you have your tweezers. Just kind of knock that off. You can also use your paintbrush then if you need to, if you've got any little speckles, especially if it's muggy or if your fingers are kind of sticky and you've got anything on it. So I'm going to do that. That I'll end up doing first since it's already stuck on there. Let's get our Merry Christmas. But everything just goes back then into the tray. Just make sure you got everything. And then let's do our big one, which is super fun. And I'm going to heat this last because I want my gun to be nice and hot. This is a nice solid design. So embossing powder normally lasts for years, like years and years and years before you use it up. If you do a ton of designs with solid things like this, obviously you'll use it quicker. Isn't that pretty? So then this has a little screw cap. And you take your brush, and I'm not going to put it all back in here right now, but this is why it's to just make sure you don't have any static, especially like in the winter when your heat's on. Most certainly not on now. The heat's on outside. But then it doesn't stick to the tray. So this just has it all in there. There were some fun things that we used to do, like we used to make kind of dog tags and stuff, and I will get back to that because then you can use your tray. This one has a little screw top. If you had the ones in the past, they had like a plunger, and if you're like me, and at the time I had children in the house and my plunger didn't last. I still have my trays. I still use them. They came in 2 different sizes then, so it's kind of a thing they've brought back. So grab your tweezers and just heat from one side as you see it melt, and then move it along. Now this is going to be harder. The font on the bottom is really fine. You can see it in real life. I almost changed it because I knew it wouldn't photograph well, and I knew that you would have a hard time seeing it in the video. But you can read it. And then you just take your tweezers and then click those, and then you can grab the next thing, and then you're not going to be burning yourself. So get our Merry Christmas. And it's much easier if you just heat one section, and then as it melts, move on. Otherwise, you miss. Because if you wave it like that, you don't get everywhere. So don't wave. Don't be a waver. Okay, now with this one, if you haven't embossed much, you'll be able to see a little bit more as it melts. And I wanted my gun to be nice and hot before I did this one, so I wouldn't have issues with spots where it didn't melt. So you can see the obvious difference from where it, hopefully you can in the camera, where it's shiny and where it's still dusty. And on this one, and on those fine words, if anything's not melted and you brush your hand over it, then it's just going to disappear. So you could just say, Emmanuel, God with, and lose your us if it's not melted right. So you always want to make sure you get these corners and the edges. And then I've noticed a lot of times people right in the middle, if they don't get that. Sometimes it's because you wave. Now you can't heat too long, and if you heat too long, then it's not shiny anymore. It goes kind of matte and not as pretty. So do it just till it melts. You can see right there it didn't get it. And then you need to kind of take it and just kind of twist it around in the light, which my light angle is different than whatever the camera is showing you. Just make sure you have everywhere. So now we're good. And you don't burn yourself. These are like metal. They're hard. And then this part here is plastic, so it doesn't get hot. So even though all that heat, it's not hot at all. So we have those. Black cardstock. One of my other gifts is this week is you can pick a scissor charm or a bone folder charm. My friend makes them and she sells them, so she's a bit busy right now. So instead of doing a whole month, it's part of my kickoff special. So there's 2 different kinds of charms if you already have the bone folder. But you know, I have 3 bone folders and they all have different charms. Okay, I have this tag out of the catalog. I'll have to look up which one it was. Like I said, I was just trying to find something that would fit the words. I'll put it in the supply list underneath. So I've run that out. So now we have a greeting for our front. And then I'm going to take this and just hand trim it out. And just, it's super fast. You could put it in your paper trimmer if you want. That would actually take longer because you'd have to line up all these places to make sure they're straight. And it's such an easy thing to do. And because at the bottom, it's going to get covered up with ribbon and our little tag there, then it doesn't matter. So just, that doesn't have to be straight down there, which makes it perfect. So got that. Super easy. Then we're going to take this, which this piece is a little long. But it was the size scrap that I have, so we're going with it on this one. I'm just going to stick this on here. And then the ribbon that was part of this suite is called, well, it says gold or gold. That's what it says, satin edged ribbon. It's very pretty. It's vanilla bit kind of, so that's how I went with, why I went with vanilla. Just going to tie a little bow. You don't want this to be giant because you don't want the bow's an accent. It's not a focal point of this card. So just kind of work it till it's nice and flat. And you can kind of pull it a little tighter. And so both sides are even. And then we're just going to glue it on. So we have that. So see, it doesn't matter how you cut, how straight the bottom is, because it's just going to get covered up. And the lines, like the star lines on this paper, are not straight. It's this distressed gold kind of reminds me, if you've been to Italy or, you know, someplace in Europe where there's the old churches with this scene, it kind of all just goes. And then let me see. I'm going to trim that off. Since this was the scrap that I had. Then we will stick this on here. And then we'll stick this. This is almost out. I'm hoping I make it through the video before it runs out. It's always one of those things you hate to refill it when it's not empty, but then it's kind of hard to tell how much there is to get you through to the next one. Now I'm going to add 2 dimensionals. And just add this. You can kind of slide it up under the ribbon just so it's kind of just right here. Pull that ribbon back on top of it. Since it's see-through, and again, it goes with the not needing straight lines. It's a stick card. Pretty in here. Now remember, we have the little strips of paper that we cut off. So we have this one, which is the right size. So before you just toss it, because what else are you going to do with it? Have it be beautiful on the inside of your card. And then I also have this one that I just trimmed off the piece of my front. So you may or may not have some of that, but if you have the little scrap pieces, instead of them ending up in the trash, when you have them, you seal, so I can lift this up. It wasn't in my other one because I didn't trim my other one. Oops, I kind of want it to go to the edge of the card. So now you have a beautiful Christmas inside. And then we have this. So then I took my Wink of Stella, and I wanted everything to be shimmery and shiny except for their faces. Like, I don't want them to look like vampires. Whoever knew that we would think that that's what, you know, watching too many movies, I guess, does for you, or reading too many books. And I also didn't do his staff. But if you don't do everything, then the parts that you do are a little bit more obvious that they have the Wink of Stella, because it's very subtle on the vanilla. So I don't want her hands, but I want all their clothes, and then not the staff, because then again, it's a little bit of a different color. It has, on just the vanilla, it goes a tinge gold. And this is where if you have not embossed something and you do this on there, it's going to just wipe it right off. But when your person touches it that you've sent it to, it will wipe off too. So that's why it's super important to make sure that you get everywhere. And once you get the feel for a heat embossing, it's really easy to do. So there we have that. And then the embellishments that come with this, the paper suite, are these, and they come in, there's red, green, silver, and gold. I just want the gold. But see, if you're using that paper, because these go with that paper, you will be able to, whatever sheet you choose for that card, you can make it match. So let's start, I'm gonna do 5, because 3 is not enough. Put 1 at the point there, and then you want these to not be even. So do these 2 across, not even, because kind of like just those are falling, and not even. And there we go. A really pretty, I hope you can see, like the paper has the foil, and then you have this, then you have a little bit of Stella. It's got a lot of texture and so super easy. Now, if you were mass producing these, you would want to do like all of your labels, and then do heat emboss all of the nativities, and then hand cut them all out, and then do all of the insides. So while it took me however long to just make this card, it won't take you that long. I like the bow placement on this one a little bit better. And this really could have been trimmed down because I lost more of my designer series paper, but it was the scrap I had. And you could actually do smaller on the distressed gold too. I really liked the touch that it added, so I went a little bit larger than I intended. So I have one more day left of catalog kickoff, so make sure you're back here again tomorrow. And if you're not on my email list, then you'll want to be. That's how you'll know all of the specials, and they do expire on, I have thank you gifts all month. So if you've missed this, there's still thank you gifts. I do this every single month. There's just some bonus ones for a catalog kickoff. Have a great one, and Merry Christmas and Happy 4th of July. Bye.